That's so weird to keep like a database of all this. Like, imagine if they did this for like racism and sexism. Wouldn't that just be insane to be like, oh, this game is racist, a black guy gets killed in it? I feel like that would be the exact same shit.
Some people are really f***ing stupid.
What's up everybody, this is the Dezembro here, and today, turns out we're gonna have to roast the Actman. There's probably going to be some new people finding this video who don't know what it's about, so I'll take a couple of minutes to quickly lay it out. But there's a timestamp on screen in case you want to skip all that. Further timestamps are on the description and top comment of the video as well. So the contents of today's video were things that I was hoping I would have been able to address directly with the Actman in a live conversation or something like that. I never mentioned it before, but we actually talked a bit in the DMs last year, sometime around summer. And it was chill, mostly. I don't want to share anything like I may be a critic of his and his bullshit, but as we are about to get into in a minute, but there's some lines that not even I will cross. Besides, not much interesting happened anyway. We broke the ice a bit after calling each other retarded, which is pretty much a typical internet greeting these days.
Fuck you! Fuck you!
Especially for people who disagree with one another. And then, just when things were about to get a little more interesting, a little bit more friendly, hopefully diving into our ideological differences when it comes to gaming, he stopped replying. And honestly guys, this isn't even a thing of like, oh guys, I got him guys, I epically outmaneuvered the Actman and he had no possible response guys. Truth is, I don't think he even saw my last message, and I can't even blame him on that because let's face it, right now, at 25,000 subscribers, I'm still a peanut on YouTube. Actually, I can't even say that anymore because a literal peanut is one of the most well-known streamers right now. So I'm basically just a shrimp over here. And when we talked, I had even less, like, I don't know, 17,000 subs maybe less, I don't even know. So genuinely, this isn't like a salt-based thing. I do understand not wanting to bother engaging with someone so small. Like at the end of the day, YouTube is in a way a business, and his time is much more well invested scripting and editing his next big video on whatever game or whatever big personality online than on some dude who hasn't even made a name for himself. But anyway, since that dialogue between us didn't come to pass, we're gonna go back in time a little bit here to a very poignant video of the Actman's where he tackles this topic directly and do a concise response. It's this one right here. Every video game is woke apparently. Which is true. It's actually completely true. Every single one is. Even Stellar Blade. What, a woman fighting aliens? What do you think this is?
Get back in the kitchen, women! You can't be on the front line.
Now, if you're new, you should be warned this response is going to be meaty. I like to really dive into the topics that I talk about and be thorough, especially these complex ones that are often prone to being either misunderstood or misinterpreted. So in the interest of time, and so that this video doesn't turn out ridiculously long with boring stretches featuring weak points or other points that we agree on, some things in his video are going to be skipped as I take the most relevant and compelling clips instead. And alright, that's it, that's enough preamble. Just one last thing, if you guys find yourselves enjoying the video along the way, dropping a like or a comment helps shrimps like myself immensely. Now without further ado, let's jump right in there.
Turns out there's a lot of games that are woke out there, and you've got to be on the lookout. Thankfully, there is a list just for you, so you can keep track of all of that woke nonsense and all of those political agendas being pushed into your games, and you can avoid it, and I'm gonna help you. So here it is, ladies and gentlemen, and just so you know, this list is very, very comprehensive. It is very There's a lot of woke stuff out there, a lot of wokeness. As you can clear, there's fucking 1,400 games on here. Look, okay, it's no secret that companies are sometimes pushing agendas in media, pop culture, video games, and whatnot. Bloons Tower Defense 6 is woke now, fellas. It's been compromised. It contains overtly pro-LGBTQ+ messaging.
So right off the bat, this is like the worst thing to start the video off with because it's the most boring and uninteresting one, but sadly it's important and it's going to set a precedent for the rest of the video. This video of his, and the core of his commentary against quote-unquote the anti-woke side of the argument, is based on this ridiculous list that he found online from a Steam curation group. The group is kind of like the Sweet Baby Inc. Detected group, which is now named DEI Detected, in that what it's supposed to do is find certain elements in games that they deem woke, and then write down what it is that the game has and whether or not they recommend it. Cabrera's groups are a little bit different and a little bit better. They usually track down, consultants and etc., but that's neither here or there. The one the Actman is checking out here is basically that, but on steroids, and it even stretches back through games from years ago where the landscape of gaming was not what it is today, with actual palpable political activism that we can see clear as day and point to, such as things in the GDC, the Game Developers Conference, where they openly do presentations geared towards teaching developers how to politicize their video games, with attendance and sometimes hosting from major AAA studios and companies like Ubisoft, EA, Sony, Xbox, 2K, etc. Some of these screenshots going by right now suffice in giving you a taste without getting you intoxicated this early in the video. The Actman took like 8 seconds in this entire video to actually address the far more realistic aspect of this whole discussion surrounding political agendas and entertainment, and promptly moved on. That was that part right there where he shows some video of the Acolyte saying that this exists, right before darting off to that Bloons game, and then a bunch of other shit on this list, most of which nobody ever even talks about because, again, the list is ridiculous. It even feels like it's AI made, you know what I mean? Like, it almost like a content ID system like here on YouTube, where if you play 5 seconds of a song in a 2-hour video, it locks in on you and claims the whole thing. Trust me, I had it happen before. For fuck's sake. Like, let me show you some of the ones I just picked up on while I was checking out the origin of the page myself, and that also present things that are going to come up later in the video. So, Watch Dogs. Not recommended as it contains overtly pro-DEI and subtle pro-immigration messaging featuring an artificially diverse cast, with Bad Boy 17 being revealed to be a female Canadian immigrant. Listen man, I got my gripes with Watch Dogs 1, but none of this makes any sense to me. The main cast is composed of Aiden, a white guy, his sister, a white girl, his nephew, a white kid, T-Bone, a white hobo hacker guy, Jordy Chin, an Asian fixer, Lucky Quinn, an old white guy, Clara, the white hacker girl from Canada, and that's about it. Then there's some other side characters, some extra villains, some of them are black from gangs in the projects that you have to break into and beat a boss in. You gotta remember this is Chicago. Then there's like maybe another one who's Hispanic or whatever, but that's it fellas, like this isn't really an issue in the game. And a random French-Canadian girl isn't a goddamn subtle pro-immigration thing, I mean what the hell are we doing here? They also got Batman Arkham Knight here in the yellow zone. The yellow zone here is where they have like an informational thing basically. They can't recommend it nor not recommend it, it just serves as a warning, and that's because it has subtle pro-LGBTQ+ messaging in the form of a voicemail from Kate Kane revealing she's getting married to her female fiancé, and also a member of the militia mentions that his other half is a male civil rights lawyer. So basically, 2 gay non-characters mentioning shit in passing. One of them is tucked away in a voicemail message. I didn't even register this, like it's the first time that I'm realizing that the fiancé is gay. I didn't even notice it myself. It's basically just a wedding invitation. And the other one I never even heard either. It sounds like one of those dumb things that come in through the radio, like when you're listening in on the little goons on the floor. So maybe a militia member says some dumb shit like, hey, you know, my other half is a civil rights lawyer, you know, some bullshit like that. And there you go. An otherwise totally based game that never drops the power fantasy of beating the shit out of criminals as Batman and locking them up while soaring through the skies of Gotham, helping the police reinstate order, is now known as a caution yellow zone type of game in this list. Or, sorry, rather, oh, you know, my husband is a civil rights lawyer, you know, some shit like that. Does this sound off? Is this a little too New York Jewish of an accent over here? Like, I don't, I'm not one of them guys, I swear. We gotta move on, bro. We gotta move on. Every goddamn Assassin's Creed game is on this list too, including the good first ones too, and it's all because of some weird shit. Contains overtly pro-DEI messaging. Like slapping that on Assassin's Creed 1, Assassin's Creed 2, and Brotherhood immediately makes me suspicious of what this specific label even means, because I can go back right now and play these 3 games in a row, and there won't be a single goddamn instance where this game is going to be preaching things to me. Like, let's be clear here, DEI means a very specific contemporary thing. When you tell me that there's messaging of this nature in a game, I'm gonna assume something that is clearly shoehorned in and doesn't belong, something that refers to contemporary politics, and this simply isn't the case in these older Assassin's Creed games. Then they also have beef with Assassin's Creed Brotherhood, noting that there are female assassins, and what do I even do with this? It's a clown show is what it is, and the funniest thing is that it's reversible. If all assassins in the game were male, then they could just be like, well, it's woke because it only presents men as capable of violence. And if there are female assassins, then it's like, there we go, it's woke because it's allowing a female character to also be an assassin. Something super simple. I mean, shit, go watch the news. There's female killers out there. It really doesn't take much. And as Assassins of the Brotherhood, before the goddamn RPG games happened, you weren't wrestling Andre the Giant, you were just finding your moments to strike your target once with the hidden blade. So anyway, I hope this little detour serves to show you guys a couple of things. This list is extremely sensitive. Really, I mean it when I say it reminds me of the YouTube Content ID system. It picks up on anything that can be interpreted as woke and flags it. Look, another one for the road. Homefront. Portrays the US and its allies as weaker than Korea and features female frontline combatants. Again, the reversible theory hits. You want a villain, you need to make it powerful. Make the US the enemy faction and it's woke because it's anti-America. Make some other country the enemy faction and it's woke because it's portraying America as weak, which is a goddamn necessity in a video game where you have a big enemy that you're supposed to fight. And the thing about female fighters in the frontline kinda hits the same way as it does in Far Cry 4, which is also on this list for the same reason. But like, if you play these games, you'll realize their settings are very oppressive. In Far Cry 4 specifically, you're in a shithole country fighting in a revolution against a madman. Of course women are going to be fighting too. It's one of those things where people must unite as one. There's no army, it's a rebellion. And specifically in Far Cry 4, it says it features female leaders, and I know precisely the leader that this list is likely referring to, which is one of your 2 ally options. One of them is a woman, the other is a man, and the woman is the bad choice because she just wants to lead Kirat into continuing being a shithole by running drugs with children and shit like that. While the ally dude wants to rid the country of all that filth and usher in a new age for their people. Doesn't sound so woke anymore now, does it? Some stories are just going to have men and women in various roles. Simple as that. Overcomplicating this does nothing. Context and intention matter greatly, and this is a list that doesn't take that into account. It feels like it's just automated. Feels like a bunch of people playing random games looking for one thing to call suspicious and then give the game a red score. That's why there's so many of them and why so many of them sound stupid. People like myself and many others in this space, we'll get there in a second, do not care about this list. And have never complained about any of this nonsense, and yet the Act-Man does not differentiate between this at all. And that's the big problem here with him using this list to support his claims. And to an extent, like, I get it. I understand why he does it, like, it's an easy target, it makes for great content, but without the nuance to call out instances where it's valid and we have actual issues related to political activism in gaming, it's just a disservice, especially with the way that the Act Man does it, with how he keeps referring to this obscure "they" throughout the video, referring to people who criticize these ideological issues in games.
You're probably thinking this was like a pride flag too, but unfortunately, it is merely a t-shirt of a T-Rex riding a skateboard in a reference to Pink Floyd's famous album, The Dark Side of the Moon. It was the wokest thing I could find in my house. It's crazy that, like, that's all they need. Like, that just this. Like, a pride flag in a game. You can't even have that. Like, they don't even want that.
Indirectly, people like myself. Same thing that Tony did in his video a couple of months ago, calling out these supposed grifters of gaming, and then equating someone like Candy Pants to Vara Dark when their content and their views couldn't be any more different. It's just utter bullshit. But now let's refocus on some specific points that the Act Man brings up.
Hogwarts Legacy, well, we all knew that. Contains overtly pro-DEI messaging. 1800 Scotland somehow has diverse LGBTQ+ characters. There's fucking wizards in the game, bro. Just get over it. Why do we cherry pick historical settings like this when it's clearly not a non-fictional story? That's crazy. That's crazy. But Hogwarts Legacy is woke. J.K. Rowling is... I'm a little confused now. I'm a little confused on that one.
In this section, the Act Man blazes past a few games and once again points out some stupid examples and others less stupid and others that are stuck somewhere in the middle. For example, he checks out Hades 2 for a moment, makes fun of how it points out optional gay romances.
Hades fans, oof. Homosexual relationship between minor characters. Optional homosexual romance. Damn. Didn't that also get some awards? Look at how many games we're exposing. All of these games have been compromised.
But completely ignores how it notes that Chaos is non-binary and Dusa says that she's asexual. As if that shit was perfectly normal to be present in a Hades video game. As if it makes perfect sense that in a video game like that, in that kind of setting, someone just turns to you and says, "Hello player, I'm non-binary." I mean shit, we're just walking into Veilguard territory again. But anyway, I actually want to focus on something else for this section of the video, which is the part about this concept of improbable diversity. We went over how it made no sense in Watch Dogs, now we're gonna go over how it absolutely hits the nail right in the head when it comes to Hogwarts Legacy and many other such cases. Hogwarts Legacy in general is a very funny case and a prime example of why this list is a complete joke, and so trying to use it as a generalization to attack, delegitimize, or dismiss arguments, points, or whatever else made by people trying to fight political activism in video games just doesn't work. I've been at this for a little over a year now, roughly a year and 4 months. I'm not exactly in any circles, like there's a couple of small content creators that I tend to hang out with sometimes in their live streams, shout out to Disgusting, G-Hammer Empress, and Mr. Hardcore.
Des, you tell us what you want, tell us what you think. All right, you're done. Who's next? Steve, you're next.
But I do obviously follow and generally have an idea of what other content creators in this space talk about and say, at least generally. People like Endymion, Varadark, Dr. Disaster, some of the Geeks and Gamers crew, Smashed JT, Hypnotic, so on and so forth. And I may not know everything about, of course, nobody knows everything, okay? But one thing that I do know is that I've never seen them talk shit about Hogwarts Legacy. In fact, I've seen the opposite. I've seen them celebrate its massive success. Now, of course, most of the time that they do so, it's while at the same time mocking the boycott against it by the woke mob, who actually hates this game far more than whoever wrote this dumb list. Because at the end of the day, it exists as a symbol that nobody cares about what these mobs virtue signal about online. And the game would have been far better without the immersion-breaking woke shit that they crammed into it to try and appease that deranged mob to no avail. And this also serves as a perfect contrast and why I don't bother with little lists like this. Like, yeah, sure, you can mock some of the items on this list, but at the end of the day, it's just a Steam curation group. Ignore it if you want to, but these woke fucks? These people went to the point of building a tracker website to organize harassment campaigns against poor random Twitch streamers who made the awful mistake of breaking international law by playing Hogwarts Legacy. Like, this extremism is medical insanity, dude, that crosses lines into actual harmful behavior. Now let's get to the specific bit here in regards to Scotland in the 1800s and answer the Actman's question. Let's roll the clip again first.
1800 Scotland somehow has diverse LGBTQ plus characters. There's fucking wizards in the game, bro. Just get over it. Why do we cherry pick historical settings like this when it's clearly not a non-fictional story?
The answer to this question is actually pretty goddamn simple. It's the same way we don't add gigantic retards as boss fights in the Call of Duty Black Ops campaign, something the Actman rightfully mocked. There's many avenues in which you can corrupt a setting. You can go down the road of thinking that Fortnite is the best thing to ever be shown the light of God, and then take Call of Duty and try to turn it into Fortnite by chasing idiotic trends that don't fit, further diluting the core identity of your franchise year after year after year, until we end up at, well, that. And another one that you can do is you go down the road of being ideologically captured enough to dilute several aspects of your setting or series DNA to the point where shit stops looking right and making sense. And that's just stage 1. Get unlucky enough and you might get yourself a stage 3 patient or higher, like Dragon Age Veilguard, another game that the Actman rightfully mocked and criticized. This is why it can be so frustrating when you try to understand what's going on in his head. It's because it feels so inconsistent and forced. Like, I know he's not stupid enough to not understand these concepts.
Are you sure about that?
And I know he's not a fan of when something's identity gets lost or corrupted along the way, but he's either too stubborn or too stupid to make the goddamn connection to how this happens through ideological injections like those as well. Like, as a hypothetical, just imagine Lord of the Rings and how much of a perfect piece of goddamn media it is. Now imagine it get completely fucked by those woke morons who are so brain-rotted by far-left ideology that they view the trilogy and the works of Professor Tolkien himself as racist. This is what we have here in Hogwarts Legacy, but at a smaller scale. The fact is that if you have a setting that is 1800 Scotland, the level of diversity present in the game right now is not genuine. It looks off. At a minimal level, it breaks immersion, but at a much major one, it does something else, which is allow this pervasive ideology to keep thriving in the games industry, looking for more games to go and infect. That's why you should care. Like, I get it, it's just wizards, it ain't even real. And I mean, that's not even an argument, it's completely shattered by what we just talked about with Call of Duty, Dragon Age, and Lord of the Rings. But sure, I get it, in a macro scale, it's just a video game with wizards. So why care that much about seeing a bunch of diverse NPCs? Well, because of the ideology inside. Because that's the only reason why it's in there. All you gotta do is ask yourself and answer honestly, why would they make these specific changes? What's the point? What's the justification or connection? Does it make sense? Answer all those and the result is no, of course it doesn't. It's not a random thing, it's a planned thing. It's called a diversity quota. It's very popular in the games industry. Microsoft even has their own for Xbox Game Studios. There it is right there, highlighted in yellow. They were dumb enough to post this themselves thinking it would be a major hit with gamers. Like, yeah, sure, we're releasing shitty overpriced games, we're making terrible decisions on the business side of Xbox, we've completely fumbled Halo and abandoned other Xbox properties, most of our first-party games are jokes, we're hiking up the Game Pass prices and the game prices, but hey, look gamers! We are very socially conscious and are making sure your video games get diversity quotas, ugly bland female character designs, and filtered dialogue to make sure that nobody gets offended. Ain't that great? And the reason why this exists in the first place is the political activism in the games industry that actually exists. It's not the diversity of the NPCs itself that is the problem. Switch games to Resident Evil 5 or Assassin's Creed Origins or Mirage or Yakuza or whatever, and the problem isn't there anymore. Or another game that serves as an example where there is diversity but it's well justified with lore is Horizon Zero Dawn and Forbidden West. I won't take too much of you guys' time to explain it. It's quick, fast, direct, super smooth. Okay, here we go. So basically the world ended and the Earth was repopulated through sci-fi machine bunkers that held human genetic seeds. Also at the same time from animals and vegetation, etc. All to rebuild Earth one day in the future when, the whole fucking place wasn't on fire. And then they began basically reintroducing this shit to Earth with no discrimination. No thought, no emotion, nor allegiances, or even historical context or information because number one, they're machines, and number two, all of this information was in the Apollo archive, which was lost in the extinction event that happens before the current story that would actually make a killer game, by the way, of humanity versus machines on its own. But sadly, I'm not a game director or the head of PS Studios, so it is what it is, guys. You gotta play Concord instead. So anyway, there you go. A game with what is technically a diversity quota. I'm sorry. We got Concord and now we're getting Marathon, man. We're fucking cooked, boys. But anyway, there you go. Like I was saying, a game with what is technically a diversity quota, but one that at least makes sense in the lore so that it doesn't break immersion. But in Hogwarts Legacy, they deliberately do that shit in 1800s Scotland because they are racist activists with a litany of annoying shit that they have to push onto all of entertainment. And that's all of it, man. Like, they can't even see a Harry Potter game or a Lord of the Rings show and sit it out like, okay, our services of diversity, equity, and inclusion do not fit here. Let us move and search for a different project where they may be needed, or perhaps create our own story our own way. Fuck no, brother. That's not what they do. Shit, it's the opposite. If anything, they purposefully target these properties specifically to go fuck with them because, again, they see them as racist or problematic in some other way. So, just get over it? Why? Why do we have to be the ones to get over it? Why isn't it them who have to get over the fact that certain IPs are just a certain way? Why shouldn't they get over the fact that 1800 Scotland doesn't look like that? Or over the fact that Lord of the Rings is the way that it is. I mean, shit, I would love to elaborate here when it comes to Lord of the Rings and give a more specific example, but this would be like a full 1 hour plus topic on its own because their problems with Lord of the Rings are insane, man. I mean, it's to the point where we've got leftist college professors equating orcs to black people. No, guys, not right-wing professors or Republicans or members of the KKK. Far-left college professors. They're the ones doing this. And it's not a niche thing either. Like, it's not some isolated moron. It's perpetuated by access media. It's taken seriously as a thing. And so now, as we saw in Rings of Power, we have to completely shatter the lore, backstory, and concept of the orcs to humanize them. The world's going mad, these people are losing their minds, and we're the ones who have to get over it? Explain why. And, don't mind me, but if you'll allow me to indulge myself a little bit more, why can't I get over the fact that Witcher is set in the same way? And so, if you have a story set in the northern realms of that world, such as Temeria, Redania, Skellige, etc., then you're not going to have much racial diversity. It just is what it is. Why can't they get over the fact that Fringilla Vigo was white, or that Triss Merigold was a pale-skinned girl with ginger hair and some big Like, holy shit, the Axeman is one of the biggest haters of the Halo show. Part of that is because it isn't accurately depicted. The shit don't match. So why is it different in these cases? Why does he understand the importance of accuracy in those situations, but suddenly when we talk about DEI, he turns into a window licker? And oh my god, let's not even get into the Dragon Age Veilguard, because on that I literally have like 3 nearly and sometimes over 1 hour long videos detailing how much of a shit show the game was. And how much they broke lore when it comes to the factions such as the Grey Wardens or even something as basic as locations like Tevinter, because they made everything soft and safe, with the identity of Dragon Age as described by the game director in the dev diary as being about, quote, a place where LGBTQIA+ folks can see people like themselves represented respectfully. It's inherently very queer, and it's such a rare thing for marginalized communities to have representation where they feel proud and powerful in how we're depicted. It's so deeply meaningful for so many. I often get emotional when I think about what it would have meant for a younger version of myself to see someone like her in a game, and as a hero no less. I hope we can be a safe place for our queer players to know that we are not to know that they are not alone, that they are brilliant and worthy, that they are not only welcome but celebrated. Is it even any surprise that more attention was given to a stupid-ass character like Tosh than far more important areas of the game? Is it a surprise that the tone is completely screwed, where the thing looks more like a Disney cartoon than the damn dark fantasy franchise that it was supposed to be? Is it any surprise that the entire thing is such a joke when the game was cooked from the beginning with this kind of attitude driving it, instead of the actual meaning and spirit of Dragon Age? This damn video is already going to be way too long without diving further into this mess, so we're gonna move on. But no, you can't tell these people no either. Like, you can't get into a meeting, hear these suggestions, right, and respectfully decline, because they're fucking crazy and they'll use it against you, like Sweet Baby Inc. admitted to doing in multiple interviews already. This is another argument people like to make. Oh, they just do suggestions and consulting. No, they don't. First of all, they actually work on content. This has also been uncovered officially months ago already, by the way. Inform yourself if you're one of these people. But even still, even if it was just suggestions, what happens when it's seen as a bad thing to decline the suggestions? What happens when you're in a cucked studio pushing for this kind of activism stuff and social impact, and you can't even say no? Especially when activists are literally the loudest voices in the room who use extreme narratives about victimization or marginalization or some other form of retardation to force their way in arguments. That's right, they become far more than suggestions, don't they? And I suspect that this is even more prevalent than it is known. I usually like to use an example from Ubisoft where exclamation points have become things that you get summoned to a jar for being aggressive. This comes from a Ubisoft insider reporting it to Legendary Drops. BioWare is another example where the recent sale of EA is being scrutinized by Veilguard writers, saying that there's no way that BioWare can continue to exist if games can't be caked with LGBTQIA+ or queer type of content. It's right there on screen right now. So no, I'm tired of the narrative of the get over it. This is just a cucked answer, it doesn't say anything. They clearly care about this enough to want to corrupt it, and they're the ones who are in the wrong for it. So no, I'm not going to get over it. I'm gonna criticize it, I'm gonna mock it, I'm gonna shit all over it whenever games fail, you know, I'm gonna pop champagne and pump out more videos mocking it. When layoffs are announced, I'm going to laugh again, and I'm going to notice when the most problematic of the employees, the activists themselves, are the ones failing upwards and being picked up by other major companies like Wizards of the Coast, Sony Studios, Xbox Studios, CD Projekt Red, and others, while regular developers who probably aren't even to blame for the activism in their games are the ones struggling to get a job again. I'm gonna notice that shit, and guess what, Act Bro? I'm gonna pump out more videos criticizing it. And anytime any game journalist website or soy boy on YouTube tries to rewrite history around the facts of what really happened, I'm gonna be here calling it out too. And every now and then I'll take a couple of days out of my schedule to take videos like yours and reach out with a hopefully comprehensive list of why they're full of shit. You're welcome, by the way. Now let's get on to the next point.
Let's see. Other famous Pal World is woke because it uses body type in place of biological sex during character creation. Who cares? Who cares? You see how easily like all of these are just written off as like they label that as overtly pro LGBTQ+. Like that's kind of crazy, dude.
So, onward to the body type stuff. I chose this clip from early on, but there's way more of them throughout Actman's video as he scrolls along and reads the description pointing to body type AB stuff in several games instead of male and female. Or for example here in this frame, where it's done differently, like in the Battlefront 2 remake, where they changed some phrases into gender-neutral language. So here's why it matters and why it's labeled as overtly, even though a lot of things in this list are labeled as overtly without it actually being overt sometimes. So I guess what I should say is, here's why it's overt, regardless of the rest of the dumb stuff on the list. Oh, and also, as to the Actman's own question, who cares? They do. They care enough to change this across thousands of games at this point. This was never just a little thing that some games chose to do. This became the enforced industry standard, including towards old games getting remastered and even games from other countries like Japan that didn't want to do it but were forced to do it by their publishers. For example, the creator of Dragon Quest vented in a video interview type of thing about how he didn't understand why he was being forced to comply with retarded rules from the West, why he couldn't use male and female and had to use body type nonsense instead, as well as a few other things that he called ugly. This type of shit was enforced by Square Enix. It had to be done this way in order for the game to be allowed to sell here in the West. After this came out, Square went ahead and tried to track down and eliminate every copy of that video online. Teams of localizers do that kind of work too, where if a game releases in the East with male and female, that shit, along with many other pieces of dialogue or in-game terms, get changed by localizers who, instead of simply doing their job of translating words and terms into something that we would understand better, go out of their way to push more of this political activism garbage into Japanese games, anime, etc. in order to comply with this ridiculous gender ideology nonsense. So again, who cares? They care, because the moment you ask to add male and female is the moment they lose their shit. And now, here's another question. Why do this at all? Why is it done this way? And the excuse that I often hear is that it's done for inclusion, but it's actually exclusion. If it was inclusion, it would just be male, female, and then another third option called other. But instead, this, or even non-binary. But instead, this pervasive ass ideology goes out of its way to eliminate the terms male and female from our day-to-day, and even from our language in general, across other things that are not related to games. Like, this is a thing that extends itself far and wide. It goes way beyond gaming. It's an erosion of a basic sense. It's one of those things where some people argue that if you ever get to a point in a society where you can't even lay down a factual distinction between a man and a woman, then anything and everything else can be subverted too. Now, I don't know whether that's the point or not, you know, I don't get that deep usually, but it honestly doesn't even matter. The point is that it exists and it is happening. Like, look at this shit right here. This is literally from just the other day. This came out this week as I was working on this video. I'll roll the clip right now.
Do you think that men can get pregnant?
Well, the goal is just the truth, so can men get pregnant? Again, the reason I paused there is I'm not really sure what the goal is just to establish a biological reality. You just said a moment ago that science and evidence should control, not politics. So let's just test that proposition. Can men get pregnant? I think there are people with many identities, but can men get pregnant? Women that can get pregnant. I do take care of people that don't identify as women. Can men get pregnant? Again, as I'm saying... Let me just remind you what you testified to a moment ago. Science and evidence should control, not politics. So, can men get pregnant? You're a doctor, I think. Science and evidence should guide medicine. Do science and evidence tell us that men can get pregnant? Biological men. Can they get pregnant? I also think yes-no questions like this are a political tool. No, yes-no questions are about the truth, doctor. Let's not make a mockery of this proceeding. This is about science and evidence, so I'm asking you. You know, the United States Supreme Court just heard arguments yesterday at great length on this question. This is not a hypothetical question. This is not theoretical. It affects real people in their real lives. And you're here as an expert, called by the other side as an expert. And you've been telling us that you follow, right, you're a doctor, and you follow the science and the evidence. So I just want to know, based on the science, can men get pregnant? That's a yes or no question. It really is, I think. I think you're trying to reduce the complexity of I'm not. I'm trying to get, it's not complex. I'm trying to get to an answer, and I'm trying to test, frankly, your veracity as a medical professional and as a scientist. Can men get pregnant? This is extraordinary. No, I'm not conflating male and female. They're two different things. There's biological men and there's biological women. And I want to know, can men get pregnant? What you're talking about is biological. You're not going to answer my question. This isn't hard, doctor. Can men get pregnant? Yes or no? I would be more than happy to have a conversation with you that is not coming from a place of trying to be polarized and... I'm not trying to be polarizing. I'm trying to ask. I think it is extraordinary that we are here and hearing about science and about women. And for the record, it's women who get pregnant, not men. We are here about the safety of women and science that shows that this abortion drug causes adverse health events in 11% of cases. That's 22 times greater than the FDA label, another fact you haven't acknowledged. And yet you won't even acknowledge the basic reality that biological men don't get pregnant. There's a difference between biological men and biological women. I don't know how we can take you seriously and your claims to be a person of science if you won't level with us on this basic issue. I thought we were past all of this, frankly. I can't believe we're still here talking about this. I am a person of science, and I'm also someone here who's here to represent the complex experiences of my patients, and I don't think polarized language or questions serve that goal. I don't think they serve the American. It is not polarizing to say that there is a scientific difference between men and women. And I want this to be clear and for the record. It is not polarizing to say that women are a biological reality and should be treated and protected as such. That is not polarizing, that is truth. It is also, by the way, the United States Constitution, which offers unique protections to women in a variety of circumstances as women. And your refusal to recognize women and men as men is deeply corrosive to science, to public trust, and yes, to constitutional protections for women as women. And I think it's extraordinary that you would sit here and advance a political agenda that has been thoroughly discredited and rejected by the American people in this forum. And I'm glad we had this exchange because it's exceptionally clarifying. It's also in many ways quite depressing.
Seriously?
That's a doctor that can't fucking answer the most basic, simple question in regards to whether or not a biological male can get pregnant. Like, bro, do I even need to say anything else here? Like, why are we out here coping about this body type shit as if it doesn't matter? Like, who cares? When we have reached a point in society where doctors practicing medicine are incapable of answering that question. Ah, but Dez, how is that related to a video game? It's not how it's related to a video game, it's how the video games are related to it. It's a pervasive ideology. It has extended itself into various aspects of our lives and society as a whole. This doesn't exist because games like Elden Ring or Palworld or Battlefront 2 or whatever, however many others out there that have this body type thing instead of male and female. It's the other way around. This shit is being pushed onto us as a society, and it is being done through entertainment with gaming and TV shows. The show he pointed to as having agendas earlier in his video, The Acolyte, has a scene that is purpose-made just for that. Cartoons for kids go heavy on this type of shit too. Just have a good browse through Netflix, there's no shortage of parents making lists to keep each other informed on which cartoons have that kind of thing and which don't. It's also present in education, there's teachers out there introducing all manner of ridiculously overcomplicated stuff like this to children. It's present in medicine, as we just saw with with that doctor, the doctor who's incapable of distinguishing gender, and my brother, it ain't even going away until people stop being so ridiculous about calling it out. Like, let's face it, they replace male and female with this shit for one reason and one reason only: more political activism in the games industry as an extension of this wider ideology in society. And it's not just in America either, it's all the way out here too in Europe. People are getting tired of this shit, man. Like, it's everywhere. I make jokes about this sometimes in other videos. It's like, you're at work, it's at work. You come home, you watch a TV show, it's in a TV show. You talk to your kid, he just came home from school. Your kid tells you whatever the fuck he learned today, it's over there as well. You go, you try to play a video game, it's in the video games. Your kid goes to watch a cartoon or whatever. You're overhearing that shit, it's in the cartoons too. Your wife gets home from work, she says that there's a new fucking, new office rules, and it's in the new office rules as well. Like, is it a bit anecdotal and a bit of a meme when brought up like this? Yes, it is, but it doesn't make it any less true. There's a lot of people out there pushing this shit into everything that really care about this. So if you want to really ask who cares, they care. Whoever's listening to this video right now, like all the viewers, never let these people use this fucking argument against you. Who cares? They fucking care, man. And whenever they say that, they're just trying to make you look or feel ridiculous for wanting to care. They're trying to downplay it, like, you care about this? Oh my god. That's so embarrassing. Meanwhile, internally they're screaming like, Now, admittedly, I'm not one to just cross out an entire game just because of this one small thing. When people buy these games to play them regardless, like for example with Elden Ring, it's obviously not because of the stupid body type selector, so I don't hardline boycott stuff like that for that reason, nor call out people still playing those kinds of games, but I would urge people to never respond in this cucked out way that the Act Man does. Make it known that you noticed that shit and that you don't want it in your games. Laugh at it online, ridicule it, criticize it openly, so that these companies stop carrying on doing the same thing over and over and over, and that hopefully the standard changes back to something that makes sense to everyone, rather than just only representing the 0.1% of the goddamn population. It's actually nuts how small it is. Even trans people are more represented by the male and female terms in the video game character selector than this robotic ass stale term of body type A and body type P. Like, what even is this? Hello, bipedal humanoid sentient creature. Welcome to the California Health Center. May I take note of which is your preferred body type? Okay, thank you. You may take a seat now and wait for your healthcare professional of unspecified fluid gender to call your name. Like, get the fuck out of here, dude. Come on. Let's get real here. You want to do all this mocking of all these things on the stupid list, and yes, some of them are stupid, but you want to sit there and laugh at the idiot who put the list together while having no stones or basis in reality yourself as you sit there defending the most retarded shit that we've ever heard of in this planet? Like, how's that supposed to work? Let's move on to the next one.
Yeah, Overwatch 2 is another one of those games where you could make some kind of argument that, yeah, retroactively changing the sexuality of many characters, maybe there's an issue with that. Maybe these characters evolved over time.
Good Lord.
Maybe it's really not a big fucking issue, and the issues surrounding Overwatch are way more important and massive and not about characters' sexuality. Just let the Rule 34 artists be by themselves, okay? Just let them do their thing.
He's right. There are many problems with Overwatch. Same with Starfield, for example, which I didn't show in this video, but he did go over it earlier in his video. There are many woke-ass games out there that have far bigger problems than the ideological little nuggets of activism that exist in them. But the thing is that we have been using this excuse and ignoring it for too long. And when you do that shit, when you sit there and pretend like these things don't really matter in the grand scheme, you just allow the problem to get bigger in the background. And some games do have this specifically to thank for, like again, Dragon Age Veilguard, where if you let this type of thing just carry on being pushed into games, you're gonna create an environment where it becomes the focus. And the thing is, everybody always points to the other things. It's always very, very easy to sit here and criticize other more tangible things, like for example, gameplay. Oh, the gameplay. Oh, the game is broken, guys. The game is broken. Oh, the monetization, guys. You screwed up the monetization. Oh my god, guys. The progression system is broken. Oh my god, guys. Look at all these bugs. These are all very easy. Everybody does this, but nobody ever touches on the ideological bullshit. There's such a taboo on touching on the ideological stuff that it just allows it to keep happening in the industry. And then you end up with crap like Veilguard, or Dustborn, or Unknown 9 Awakening, or Star Wars Outlaws, or Saints Row 2022, or Reloaded, or Forspoken with some of the crappiest dialogue I've ever seen and the most dislikable main character ever, or Fair Games, or that failed project EA Black Panther, or Perfect Dark, where nobody knows what the developers were doing for so many years, or character designs like in Concord, or the shit show that is Avowed, or the story in Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, or the entirety of Assassin's Creed Shadows, or the types of mind-boggling decisions where you take an established character like Jin Sakai and you make a sequel where you don't follow his story and you switch to some female character 300 years later that nobody gives a shit about just because you want to offer a job to a fucking activist. And then you gotta hear the retorts like, just because it's a woman, just because it's a woman. My brother, fuck that. It's not about that at all. If I'm playing Horizon Zero Dawn and then I'm playing Horizon Forbidden West, I don't want them to suddenly take away Aloy, leave her story unfinished, and give me a new story with, I don't know, Joey Salads. Like 3,000 years after the events of the first and second game. Like, okay, thanks brother, thanks a lot for that shit, thanks brother. Or the same type of ridiculous decisions where you take a sequel to Spider-Man and you take a dump on the character and you waste everybody's fucking potential so that you can do some more activism nonsense through Sweet Baby Ink. Isn't that just lovely? Thank you so much. Thank you so much for taking one of my favorite games of the last generation and giving it an underwhelming sequel because, oh, we just had to bring in the activists to work on it too. I mean, Spider-Man has to be sensitive and socially aware. So on, so forth. Do I need to go on? I don't think so. This is the type of shit that is pretty much leading to the figurative extinction of certain genres and tones in AAA, which we have definitely seen. Now, the X-Man knows very well that I don't have any love lost for Andy Pants gaming, and so do my own viewers because I've made videos calling out some dumb takes of his as well. Now, he may not be the best at wording things and arguing for them, as the debate between him and the X-Man showed when he got fucking bulldozed basically, but if there's one thing he's absolutely right about, it is in regards to the pussification of gaming, specifically in the AAA space, because when you breed a soft culture that keeps apologizing for itself and worrying more about social issues and social causes, literally social impact, which many of these studios openly dedicate themselves to the point of writing it and announcing it on their websites because it gives them ESG points, then you're drifting away from certain themes, tones, stories, and character archetypes that are now too edgy or too irresponsible for you to go into. Thank God for indie studios and AA studios who haven't cucked themselves to such an extent where they're following down the same road. At least we still have them to give us some real games with some real shit in them, like Hell Is Us, for example. Sorry for spending so much time on this thing, let's get to the next one.
Have to review these things based on each game individually. You can't just be like, well, that's woke, don't play it. You know, you have to actually examine it. Like this could, like the Alex Jones game could be a decent platformer. Could be. Looks kind of funny, like it's got a funny theme, but a lot of people just write off games because they don't contain the right politics, and I think that's really entitled and stupid.
Just one last thing before the next topic. What people? That's the problem with this video. It takes this massive issue that is very valid and present in the games industry, and it kinda just makes a clown show out of all of it to hundreds of thousands of viewers, actually a full million by now, while misrepresenting the whole thing and not basing it on facts. It finds specific retarded examples in the list, like for instance there's the whole section of Actman's video here where he goes over Red Dead Redemption 2, which is a game that is present in this list, and most of what he said in his assessment of it is something that I agreed with. Not everything, but for the most part it was fine, and in order to save time I'm not going to put it in because there's a section at a later part of this video where I'm better able to actually show what the problem with his logic is. But then he throws a blanket of dismissal, for lack of a better term, over the whole thing while referring to this mythological day or this mythological these people as if to paint the sentiment and the games in this list as relevant to the wider Gamergate sort of movement that many content creators like myself are often ascribed to as being the same thing. And that's just not realistic at all. It's bullshit.
Also, what kind of fucking games are on here? I Was a Teenage Exocolonist? Contains overtly anti-capitalism messaging? What's wrong with that? What's wrong with that? So does BioShock. Criticizing capitalism is woke now. What? Who wrote this list? Well, I know who wrote this list. It was actually one of the founders of autism.net. Destroy all humans. Contains subtly anti-human and subtly pro-DEI messaging? Are you fucking serious? Anti-human messaging? Boy, I wish this was a wig. I would rip it out. I would rip it out of my skull. Have you played that Destroy All Humans game? Pfft, me? No. Contains some anti-human messaging.
You hope no one notices that I have women's panties on.
You know how I like my games. Pro-human. Imagine being the person like writing this list, looking at and playing Destroy All Humans, and you're like, there's just something not quite right about this. Just something not quite right. I can't put my finger on it, but I feel like this game is a little anti-human.
Take him home and drown my sorrows in cheap meaningless sex. Ooga!
And that's woke.
So this part's going to be a bit different. It's not even like a whole thing, it's short. I actually agree with him here too, like that stuff does feel ridiculous and it kinda harkens back to an earlier point that I made about Homefront. This is where there can be overreach from the other side of the issue into causing the exact same problem that the political activists cause, which is creative restrictions. The main reason I'm against that list I showed earlier from Xbox, for example, is because it prevents creativity to flow and be free. It's a bunch of ridiculous rules and guidelines that impact writing, storytelling, lore building, character design, dialogues, etc., all based around this soft political correctness nonsense. And so of course, if you come out of the gate with the same thing, but from this other perspective, where you can't have a game like BioShock have themes or be set in a setting that contains anti-capitalist narratives or characters, another game that does that is Chronos: The New Dawn, or a game like Destroy All Humans that, you know, is about destroying humans, or a game like Fallout, which far-left idiots keep trying to claim as a anti-woke, anti-capitalist game to this day, despite the creators having already said that no, it isn't, etc., then you're doing the exact same thing that the wokes are doing by restricting people's creativity. I think the reason why that's in the list though is because of how much anti-Western sentiment exists these days, where it's like anything at all that is pro-West is a problem from these unhinged woke activists out there. Like for example, recently, in the world of American politics, which I really don't want to get into, but it is what it is, just gonna do a couple of mentions here. There were people supporting a dictator after he got snatched, for lack of a better term. Also, with what's currently going on with Iran, we got these same weird types supporting the regime rather than the people themselves. It's sadly a theme that is also prevalent and that some pieces of media do tend to take advantage of. Sweet Baby Inc., for example, now for something that is actually more gaming related, has even gone to attack cozy games now, the cozy genre, you know, like farming games, etc., because in their mind-blowingly virus-infected mentalities, games like Stardew Valley are bad because they promote Western values. In their minds, planting crops, harvesting them, and selling them to make money and then buy more crap or to level up through progression is deeply rooted in imperialism, colonization, and capitalism. And so, they did this whole GDC presentation, you know, all this shit that's been on screen right now. It's like a presentation / class type of thing, where they hope to teach indie developers how to not make their games so racist and patriarchal. So the issue does exist, it's just that these examples that he went through in his video, plus the ones that I pointed out earlier about Homefront and Far Cry 4, are ridiculous. However, the difference is, these guys who made the list aren't part of the games industry, and never will be, unless they, I don't know, become like indie developers, but that's about it. The people on the other side of the problem are, though. They're working in the games. They're actively influencing major titles even in AAA studios. If we ridicule retarded descriptions in this list, we should also ridicule these retarded things in games instead of doing the shit that Yaktman keeps doing in this video, which we addressed already, you know, the whole, oh, what's the problem? It's Wizards of the Cave, bro. Or body type, who cares? Like, there's a severe lack of consistency here and understanding, really. Like, I understand this list is retarded, it's funny, I get it, but the guys who made it are just morons on the internet. Meanwhile, the ones actually putting this shit into the games, shit that is utterly retarded as well, are being given excuses. They just keep at it, you know, no problem. We'll just ignore it, we'll just let it go. Keep making the games worse, no problem, fellas. Keep pushing this pervasive ideology into the video games. Who cares if there's already doctors who can't fucking answer whether a man can have a baby or not? I mean, who cares at the end of the day, right? It's Wizards of the Cave. Like, come on, man. Give me a fucking break, dude. Give me a break over here, dude. This is like, one is a moron on Steam. The other is people in high positions. Not just in the games industry, but also whole-ass doctors practicing goddamn medicine. Like, that shit is like a flat earther being a cartographer or some shit. What is it that you want, sir? A map to the ice wall? Right this way. That's why this video is still relevant now. I hoped we could have touched on some of these things perhaps in our DMs, like we didn't have to make it a live chat thing if you didn't want to, honestly, but that didn't come to pass. And that's fine, you know, he doesn't owe me his time, but in recent months since then, this is something he still hasn't gone back to reassess or correct. Like, this is still seemingly a perfectly fine and accurate way to see the activism problem in the games industry for him. And if his political takes on Twitter are anything else to go by, this dude is getting even worse. With how much these people have exposed themselves in the games industry over the past 2 years, it's impossible to still have this view unless you're deliberately being disingenuous or alternatively, of course, you just agree with it, which isn't any better either because the whole damn thing is built on sand.
Oh boy, Call of Duty's woke too? Shit. Well, yep, multiple pride flag calling cards and emblems. Yeah, I can't have that, It's crazy that, like, that's all they need. Like, that just this. Like, a pride flag in a game. Even if it's an optional cosmetic, you can't even have that. Like, they don't even want that. No rainbows allowed. No rainbows, no pride flags.
I don't want to spend too much time on this note because it's a very complicated one that would span its own video, but basically suffice it to say that it depends on where you see these placed. Obviously, some settings make sense. Some games that have a metric gigaton of cosmetics for people also make sense, but obviously other settings and some other games don't apply here. And so when it's slapped on those games, it's also obvious why it's there. Same argument as in back with the 1800 Scotland thing. It's true that, like with certain body type selectors, it's not something that will kill a game, especially when it's easily ignored, but I don't take issue with people taking note of it either because I'm just so over activists using ridiculous excuses just to shove this in, especially when those excuses often have caveats where these games are then used as positive examples of good games that quote-unquote do the right thing to then be contrasted against games that refuse to do that same thing, which then get labeled by the games media as bad games, such as what was done with Black Myth Wukong in 2024 and what's being done right now with Lords of the Fallen 2, etc. The flag itself is already an issue for some people because of what it has latched itself onto when it comes to real-world politics. Like, years ago, it wasn't even the current flag, it was just the rainbow flag. And that only meant support for gay and bisexual people, like, that's it. Like, yeah, sure, let's go ahead and live and let live, etc. You know, progress was actually being made here in the West, where this sort of thing was much more normalized. Then it changed. Now it's obviously not just about letting gay and bi people live their lives, now it's about all manner of other shit, some of which is extremely controversial, such as self-ID laws, female spaces, female sports, and the big one, child transitions. There's a lot of people out there who aren't even homophobic, it's just that the flag doesn't just simply represent that kind of thing anymore. It's, like I said, it's just so much more. It has become very divisive, so putting it in the game now isn't the same as putting it in the game 10 years ago. I feel like that's also relevant and should be taken into account. But yeah, mainly for me, it's the implication that grows out of it, where then other games are forced to pander to the same thing too, and if they don't, like if they want the integrity of their game setting to remain airtight, because, you know, for example, in the case of Black Myth Wukong, there is no conceivable way where you can inject this kind of ideological, modernized bullshit into it because it's an ancient mythological China setting. And please do not forget Kingdom Come Deliverance 1, we discussed this very recently. That's a game that got hounded by games media for not having this fake diversity in a medieval European setting where it just doesn't make a lick of sense. Then they'll get hounded by games media like IGN and, you know, Polygon, Kotaku, .esports, etc. and all that, and demonized for it, just for not forcing it into their games. I think that shit is utterly ridiculous. People just expect this to be the norm now, and if you fall out of the norm, then they look at you sideways. And nobody ever talks about this. Everyone always wants to sit and use the excuse of, oh, just let developers do what they want to do. Freedom of expression and freedom of creativity, or rather creative freedom. But they only use that excuse when it comes to including these ideologies. But nobody from their side working in these game news outlets and all that ever uses the same excuse to defend the studio's right to choose not to put it into their games.
Look at how specific this gets though. Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. A minigame on Noblesse involves singing a song about women in respectable positions of power. Who gives a shit?
They do, brother. They do. They give so much of a shit that they had to take a goddamn game from Insomniac, a whole-ass, cartoony Ratchet & Clank game, big budget, PS5 debut game that was then delayed a bit, and they had to put that blatant political nonsense into it to fill their activism quotas. Instead of telling me who gives a shit, instead of dismissing this the way that you're dismissing every single inconvenient thing on this list and beyond, tell me why it has to be there. Tell me why it belongs in that goddamn game. Give me one good reason why I should ignore these little nuggets of activism being pushed into so many different video games and other types of media. Give me a reason why I shouldn't care about these little percentages that they are running whole entire studies on in order to then use on presentations like this one. I wouldn't give a shit if there was any other way around it, but while this is going on, I'm sorry, but I do. Because they do. It's the most important thing for them. It's their sole mission. It's what they wake up in the morning for. It's what pays their checks at the end of the month. And the more you ignore, justify, or protect, the more of it there will be. Because it's a job, dude. You know what I mean? Like if your job is to find problematic content, as they say, in video games to then fix with your progressive bullshit, what happens when you run out of problems? Well, you think they get a medal and early retirement? Hell no. They get laid off because their job becomes redundant. It's like it's over, you're done, you finished. You beat all the you did it! You made the games industry progressive, congratulations! So these people's jobs are literally never done. If they can't find a problem, they'll create one. That's why things have gotten progressively worse as years have gone by. Because so have they, as well as their demands and their control over content. Another problem I have with the Actman and his narrative, like look at this.
They already reviewed Veilguard, it's not even out. They don't even need to play the game.
Anyone that hasn't been inhaling insurmountable amounts of copium, like anyone that wasn't inhaling the national stock of copium in the United States, could have seen the problem in Veilguard weeks before release. Again, I'm not going to kick this video with Veilguard's history, before and after launch. It's all very well documented in my channel already if anyone is interested, but the point is that Veilguard wasn't a case of if it's going to be bad, it was a case of how bad is it going to be? Because before launch, it was already obvious that this was going to be a shit festival to anyone who knew at least the bare minimum of what had been going on in the games industry in terms of activism, basically. And this is a prime example of how being dismissive of this stuff to the point of generalizing it is not only wrong of him to do, it's downright embarrassing. Like here he is laughing this off as if it was ridiculous that the page was already not recommending Veilguard before playing it, when it ended up being one of the biggest jokes of modern gaming. And then it's like, oh, but Daz, that's just lucky that it ended up that way. No, it's not. It was goddamn obvious. Remember that diary quote that I read earlier in this video, like fucking an hour ago or something, because this video is massive? That quote was already out and about in public before launch. I read it in one of my first videos covering Veilguard's lies behind this false notion of inclusion that they were peddling online. Again, all you had to do to see Veilguard for what it was, or at least to have enough respectable suspicion for it, is have common sense and not be so biased that you're blinding yourself out for political activists in the industry, pretending like your eyes aren't actually seeing what's there and that none of this ever matters. Who cares about all this?
It's so weird to keep like a database of all this. Like imagine if they did this for racism and sexism. Wouldn't that just be insane to be like, oh, this game is racist, a black guy gets killed in it? I feel like that would be the exact same shit.
They do, you idiot. That's the fucking point. These changes come to these games, shows, and movies because these idiots view these things as issues or as problematic things either in our games or our society. What the hell is even this point that you're trying to make here? Oh my god, I can't even who am I even talking to at this point? Like, how can he even say this shit unironically without realizing how stupid it just sounded? The shit I showed earlier about Lord of the Rings, the whole thing with Sweet Baby Inc. and their lists of how these cozy games are racist or patriarchal, the Xbox list, caked with those little eggshells all over the damn place of things that they deem problematic or to be too harmful to be included in video games. All of those things, except specifically the SBI thing about cozy games, are things that we already knew about and talked about on this channel and online in general by the time that he made that original video. Like, my dude, holy shit, man. Why do you think these quotas exist? Why do you think these changes in character designs and dialogues exist? Why do you think this hyperfixation in adding LGBT stuff into every goddamn game exists? This is already there. It's always been there. There was a whole previous Gamergate about this shit specifically. And the only reason why you won't find a stupid-ass list like this from the other side is because they don't need it, brother. They're the ones who have any sway at all in entertainment. They're the ones who are in the studios, calling these shots. And even outside of that, if you think about it, other platforms already accommodate them. For example, if you want games that have this kind of ideological content, you can literally go on PlayStation Store or Steam and search for games via categories or tags that are purposefully built for them. On PlayStation, there's diversity categories and LGBT categories packed with games that are tagged as such for people to browse and buy. And of course, Steam also has their own tags that are for this kind of thing, like the LGBT tag or the female protagonist tag, for example. Like, I can't believe you'd be able to say this shit out loud in a video and then edit the video afterwards and hear it again without a light bulb going off in your head like, oh, wait a minute, nope, okay, that was stupid, let me cut it out of the video. Holy shit, dude.
Divinity Original Sin 2? How? Homosexual romance options, okay. Like, that's a bad thing, you know what I mean? That's a bad thing to these people. Not that it's forced, as in it forces the player to be gay, but that it's an option in the game. Homosexual relationships are written and included for people who care, or for people who want to explore all pieces of content, all different types of relationships. It's like these people are discouraging that. And sounds like these are the people trying to shove political ideology into our video games instead of trying to keep it, you know, relegated to the artists themselves.
Are you retarded? So I know you're not retarded, but what are you, Down syndrome?
Again, dude. Again. Oh my god, man. Like, you're so close. You're so close, but then you just run into a fucking post. Like, yes, you have an RPG, let people romance whoever they want to romance in an RPG. Get some male options, get some female options, get some weird options in there too, like, I don't fucking know, a lizard lady with big titties, who cares? But then he goes, and again, dismisses every actual palpable example of what's truly happening in the industry, and lays the claim that, oh, the true political activists shoving their ideology into gaming are the people making stupid-ass Steam lists like this or complaining about woke stuff online, rather than the actual political activists who are in the studios or in the consultant companies that the studios hire to come in and shove their activism into the games themselves. Like, great assessment, Act Man. Really fucking bright. I mean, very, very, totally not retarded, disingenuous, brain dead take at all, good sir. Take this trophy in lieu of payment for the shit that you just smeared all over your living room wall. Bro will look at a picture of GDC and all the shit that's going on there with all those game developers hanging out, and he'll be like, no problem here. Fuck me. Oh, fuck me, dude. It's hopeless. And that's about it for his video, fellas. I feel like that alone perfectly encapsulates the general problem here. While there are things to criticize on that list that come across as completely stupid, And also, I showed 0 examples of this, but another string of things the Actman shows is how stupidly obvious some of the ones on the list are. Like, they'll go and search, themselves, they'll search gay dating games, and then they'll put them on the list as if they needed curation. Like, it's a gay dating game. What do you expect's going to be in it? A tutorial for how to fucking do your taxes or something? But at the end of the day, he completely dismisses and misinterprets the actual problem itself, ending up doing far more damage towards the discourse surrounding the matter than anything else. Because if we don't argue about these things while at least having our feet perfectly set on solid ground, then we're never going to get anywhere. Like, you can't have a discussion about this stuff if one party is living in a delusion, denying the reality that is right in front of them. Like, that's the lowest of requirements for having a discussion about this kind of thing. Like, that's how bad the disconnect is here. If you can't establish a basis of reality, you can't even have a rational discussion about any of this. Like, for instance, a point I left out in my ramblings here is, I don't even care about when this stuff is done in indie games. It doesn't matter. It's about freedom, you know what I mean? Like, if you're a game developer and you want to make video games that have this kind of content in them, you have the right to do so. What I care about is when Sweet Baby Inc. tries to influence indie developers into pretending like games such as Stardew Valley are problematic, and so any games that are made like that are problematic too. I think these activists need to shut the fuck up and just go mind their business. And of course, I also don't stand it when those same developers then go crying online and pressuring Valve to ban accounts, giving their games bad scores and exposing whatever DEI type of narratives they may have in there. As I talked about recently in another video, like, if you want to do that kind of content, you're free to do that kind of content, and everyone else is free to judge it, review it, criticize it. And of course, the other thing I don't stand is shit like this being forced into AAA games with major budgets. That's usually what makes them crash and burn, often handling known and beloved IPs like Dragon Age just to turn them into a total shit show that then you aren't allowed to criticize openly without IGN, Kotaku, Polygon, The Gamer, etc. declaring you a bigot for it. And the funny thing is, this is sometimes things that I have to address with other people, but that it doesn't even come up in this video of the Actman's because he's so brain broken or uninformed when it comes to this topic that it doesn't even make the argument for it. It doesn't even reach the first stage of reality where one admits that yes, political activism does exist in the industry and it is rampant, but it should be their right to make the content that they want, for example, which would be the point where you start going off in another direction of the conversation, like, is it wise to do that? We're talking about big budgets. Is it normal to put that at stake? What about the skewed demographic data that they have that isn't fucking real? You know, this kind of shit. But the Actman isn't even there. He's stuck at the stage of, oh, it doesn't matter, who even cares about all this? And something I do wonder is, since the video is a bit older, I wonder, has he changed his mind since then? And if so, why hasn't that come across in his content, in his commentary? Like, for example, he went off about Assassin's Creed Shadows at the time, alongside some other idiot, the Mighty Keef or whatever, and Synth Potato. That to me shows me that, no, he hasn't changed his mind. And then there's also the event that triggered us starting to swap DMs at first, which was this post right here that I made. I retweeted him because this news came out about Halo Dev says no one is happy about the quality of the next game and there's tension at the studio. And he made a meme, losing his fucking mind and going, man. And I found this interesting because none of this news about Halo surprised me at all. It doesn't surprise any of us who keep up with the news of what's going on in the industry, what's going on in these studios, and who actually give considerable weight to political activism in the industry. It's not a case as bad as Veilguard's, where you can tell that the whole thing was going to be a shit show, but it's similar. You know what I mean? Like, you follow the breadcrumbs, what are you gonna find? Fucking Boogie 2988 or whatever, he ate all the fucking bread. I don't know. What you're definitely not going to find is bread. What the fuck am I even talking about?
Look, here's the thing.
Fine. Listen,
I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm kind of retarded.
So what I wrote was, the cycle of Actman. People say Game X is cooked because Studio Y is caked with activists and or working with Publisher Z's in-house restrictions based in borderline retarded political correctness and hypersensitivity, often perceived as woke. which Xbox has, like that list that I showed you guys. Said people sometimes, and sometimes not, refer to other consequences of the decision, such as essentially wasting money on garbage that is antithetical to the franchise. He laughs at them online and mocks them for connecting those dots. Sometimes even throws a video in there too, like this one, like fucking this one that he made here. Games come out and end up sucking, or studios end up shutting down before the game even sees the light of day. Actman gets sad and shares memes online about how dog shit the publisher is. Rinse and repeat. That's what got him mad enough to message me in the first place. And, you know, it's very normal for people to change their minds as time goes by, right? I mean, you live and you learn, especially as more information comes out, and there's always more information coming out. Gothic Therapy is a fantastic channel that thoroughly investigates the happenings at Sweet Baby Inc., for example. Madam Savvy is another fantastic investigative channel. A lot of the shit that I cover on my channel are thanks to them, because they are basically over there sleuthing and finding information. And so much like myself, the Actman could also have changed his mind over time, but this and other interactions throughout the year are why I don't believe he has. And so, here's this video response. A bit late as usual responses go, but still fresh off the presses apparently. People criticizing Xbox game studios for being fucking littered with political activism? That's bad. You can't do that, guys, because that means you're bringing the politics into it. Actual political activists in these fucking studios, companies, consultants, game developer conference, the Gamescom guy as well, who said that we need more politics in games. You know, all these people, all these agendas that are actually bringing the politics in the games, that's fine. That's fine. That doesn't matter. That's not actually politics. That's over there. It's the chuds that are the bad ones. All of this shit that's actually making the Halo game bad, that's fine. No, that's okay, fellas. You don't understand. It's a delicate balance. Oh, give me a break, dude. Give me a break and a shot of something strong so I can handle the tired waves, because...
Damn, boy, he's thick, boy!
And with that said, that's the end of this ridiculously long video. This is probably way past the hour. Oh, yes it is. Yes it is. It's 1 hour and 10 in the recording, plus I'm gonna have to put the clips in, so yeah. But it was worth it in the end to make sure that I got at least as many things across as possible, at least the most pertinent ones from his video, with as much context as I could give, evidence as well, and good faith, in, you know, despite a few memes here and there. I mean, you know what it is. If you made it this far, fellas, you're in the Hall of Fame. Thank you very much for watching. Like the video if you enjoyed it, dislike it if you didn't, subscribe if you're new, you know, let's up those numbers. Let me know your thoughts down below, you know, all that YouTube bullshit, and have yourselves a terrific rest of your weekends. I'll see you on the next one. Take care.